the news this week of some of the new products coming from OpenAI and capabilities around personal GPTs, etc. Fascinating step forward. Who knows where we're going to be 12 months from now? The concept of AI is still being defined, and in my opinion will be defined for many, many decades to come. So AI needs to be treated at this stage as more of a discovery, what it could be capable of doing within an organization. But as with any new discovery of anything, is start small, pick a specific use case of whether it's a function or a process or somewhere where there is availability of good amounts of data, and then really focus on that use case and build it out. That's the fundamental and critical piece when you're looking at a major number one tip for beginning the journey. Also accept the fact that AI has been running across many organizations, whether we like it or not, for many decades. It is not new. It has been around for a very long time, whether you want to define it as machine learning or other deep learning capabilities around data. So AI isn't necessarily the new kid on the block, but it is something that has captured the imagination of many of an organization's employees and groups. And consequently, it's got the imagination of leadership. So really what you want to do is, and a little tip is to reaffirm that understanding of AI and what AI can and can't do across the leadership teams, and get buy-in. That's a really important part to it as well. And then from my perspective, as having a background in risk management as well, is look at the risks of using AI. Evaluate them very carefully across your security, AI data bias, AI errors, legal compliance, all that good stuff, and just work out how you're going to mitigate those in the context of your own organization. That's really, really important. Obviously, going around integration of AI with tools and processes is also a major challenge, but that's something well worth looking at. But as I say, with start small and focus on a specific use case, start with a proof of concept or a pilot, whatever your definition wants to be. My experience is you start with that proof of concept based on a challenging part of any business or process, and that really will pay a lot of dividends, because if the proof of concept's got a challenge statement that is common across many functions, it really is a good thing to reuse and as a sales tool, shall we say, to get the AI message across. Obviously, from a talent perspective, it's a challenge. So start to look at the people internally who have got passion, interest, put skills on one side for a minute, but down to the passion, interest, and are they evangelizing AI techniques today, and deeply interested of where the journey could go with it. And are happy to challenge some of the misnomers around AI in the public domain. And that's a really important bit to get the talent there. And then last bit is it's never ending. As all good software technology should be, it continually needs to be iterated. It feels like in the public domain right now that a lot of the external AI major players, tech players, are releasing phenomenal leaps in quantity and quality of AI techniques, feel like every day. Part of the biggest job we've got right now is keeping up with what is actually out there and happening. So the last bit I would on tips and tricks is all about trends. Do the very best you can, not as a single process, but get multiple people sharing their experiences around what they see as being the next trends for an organization in the use of AI. And that's a really powerful thing to do as well. But yeah, start small, get buy-in, get realistic expectations from what AI can and can't do. That's the real sort of bits of the focal point for that part. So, big question. My personal opinion, and is a personal opinion. It's a really interesting challenge. I was talking to somebody the other day about this, is that I find it fascinating that we are today talking about ethical challenges around the use of AI, and it's a hot topic, and I'll come on to some of the areas that people need to be concerned about and look at and review and consider. But it's interesting is that we currently challenge ourselves on ethical use of AI, but the whole world never stopped and took a breath to consider, for example, the ethical challenges of social media. And it's a fascinating challenge right now that we will, and we are in my organization and other organizations that I've worked with, the creation and running of AI ethics committees and groups of that community and of interest is absolutely mission critical in terms of governance. But it's fascinating that, I often reflect now that we never stopped to look at the ethical challenges around and concerns around the use of social media, and I include things like LinkedIn in that conversation as well. It's a really fascinating place to be right now in terms of the AI journey, when we look back of where the social media and the impact of social media has been across business professionals and the public worldwide, and the impact it's having across everything from democracies and everything else, and all kinds of data points we've got on that. That's an interesting place. But to answer the question directly, so the bits in terms of ethical use to consider, most people are very aware of the concerns around bias that's within data and AI systems, having the ability to bring that bias into the forefront of people's minds and consciousness. That's a challenge. You need to look at that. AI, I've always been a complete advocate for. AI must be explainable in a simple manner to all end users, whoever they may be. If you can't explain the algo and what it's trying to do in terms of the technique, that's a problem. So that needs to be overcome. Accountability. So I won't bore anybody with racy charts, but races work. And it's an interesting process to go through, is when you ask the fundamental question for an output from any AI process, and large language models are one flavor of AI against trillions of flavors of AI that are out there. If you take the outputs, who's accountable for that output? Who's responsible when an AI does, and often will, from a large language model perspective as well, make mistakes? Who has that accountability? So that needs to be built into conversations. Data privacy, I'm talking about it all the time. There's some really interesting pieces about the data that is used to train artificial intelligence models. So questions should be asked early on around ethical use of, data privacy. And that's really important. Security, AI systems fundamentally are pretty vulnerable at this point, and still will be vulnerable for many decades to come from cyber attack, through all kinds of other parties that are out there. So in terms of security, that's a really important piece of robust security measures and ethical use of security on an AI side. Legal compliance. If we look at the legal position now, UK law being written as we speak and created. From my perspective, I've sat for nearly 7 years now on the government group for AI. And it's fascinating that, even though it's been running for many, many years, we're still talking about and putting together advisory positions on AI law in the UK. Of course, there's the EU Act around AI, and that is a really good template of where things can go, and it's useful. With the recent news around the positions for the AI standards and AI safety institute, etc., both here in the UK and the US. That's all interesting steps forward, so that'll affect our legal compliance, legal conversations. And then the other bit is really interesting, is from an ethical perspective, which I converse and work with a lot with my colleagues, is the unrealistic expectations of AI. I spend a lot of time educating our colleagues on what AI cannot do. So there's a piece where, and I'll use the word trust. Trust and AI is a really interesting dilemma right now. In the same way that it's human nature to trust and believe the first thing that you read or see. And if it's the more believable that it looks and feels, therefore we will naturally believe it for obvious reasons. That's how we're all educated as we go through the process of looking at data and screens and information and images, etc. But there is this unrealistic over-trusting process that AI has gone through some sort of magical process that it always produces correct factual base outputs, and that's simply not true. So part of the ethical hurdle that we've got to get across is this piece that AI can be unrealistic, and we've got to look at that expectation management. So that's an important part as well. So I'd give a couple of bullets here from my experience. One is possibly more now than I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. And even 4 or 5 years ago was pretty intense in terms of the innovation around technology that we were seeing at the time. Organizations need to really encourage and support, incentivize, all that good stuff to really increase the volume level on a culture of innovation and true experimentation. So create an environment where business users can actually build proof of concepts. That's not just the tech platforms to do so, but give them easy access to start to play in a sandbox, to actually work out, what innovation, what experimentation they could do, not just on an AI data side, but on the implementation of AI across a business. That's really important. Really encourage and drive that, the innovation and ability to have freedom to experiment and create proof of concepts. That's probably more important now than it's ever been. Continual training, continual access for employees and team members for any new digital skills that they require and want and desire. And that's across the whole business, every level of the business, from new start graduates right the way through to veterans in the team. And do it in a sensitive manner that allows an individual who may be nervous to expose themselves to say they have got a lack in a certain digital skill, but give them access, free access in a sensitive way to getting access to those new digital skills and how people use it and all that good stuff. I definitely encourage that. We talked about tech trends a moment ago. I'd double down on working out which tech trends are applicable to an organization's business function, focus, all that good stuff, the mission, as it were. Tech trends right now, there are so many billions of fantastic businesses out there worldwide that are really creating some fantastic solutions. There's also a lot making some absolutely nonsensical solutions, so you need to know both. And it's the awareness of knowing that what you class as a trend today may not be the trend tomorrow. And there's a bit of that awareness as well. So there's a bit of a reality check on some of it, which is difficult to do, and I accept that. And my example being is we've witnessed during the pandemic era the arrival of the hype and the noise around metaverse. And it feels like the phrase metaverse has been replaced in many ways by the phrase AI. And it's really fascinating that if you look at organizations that have spent billions of pounds on metaverse techniques and technologies and platforms, a little bit quiet right now. And it's fascinating that how the spotlight changes over time on certain things. AI is not metaverse. AI is not an NFT discussion. AI is not cryptocurrency discussions. AI is a different conversation, because AI is not one thing. It is as I said earlier, it's a trillion different things. So it is a conversation that really does embed itself today and will do for many, many decades to come in an organization's DNA. So that's really important. So I think that tech trend stuff is really important on an AI side, the good and the bad and the ugly. As I said earlier, run proof of concepts. It's the only way to keep ahead of the curve. It's really a try, test it, the very low cost. And as I say, getting into sort of that low code, no code thinking, or now code created with an audio prompt is all on the horizon happening today, which is really interesting. Buddy up, partner up, get into the ecosystem with tech partners, large and small, and everybody in between, and have those conversations. Really build it. And academia. Academia is truly way ahead of the curve on a lot of the AI techniques and machine learning techniques that are out there, and has been for a very long time. I think there's a real heat of the spotlight that will come onto the academia world over the coming periods. So yeah, start building your partnerships is what I would say around the academia connections. And then last bit is share the stories, the good, bad, and the ugly stories across an organization. Get those internal conversations going, create those communities in a business of interested parties. And those interested parties don't necessarily have to be the ones who positively, support any AI work. These need to be people who are challenging it, who have got fear, uncertainty, and doubt around what AI is going to bring to a business and communities and society. It's important to have all of those people in that conversation. You do not want to be in a room full of yes people who will drive you down a rabbit hole and you'll never get out of it. So that's a good thing to do. So that sharing the knowledge across the organization is really important as well. So that's a good one. So I hope they, each person, and we can always try and please everybody all the time, right? Is to get the passion that, from an AI perspective, this really is a pivotal time. This is a really big moment. If I can encourage people to just take a breath, take a step back, and understand it, for me in my journey, and I'm trying my age now. So back in the late 80s, when I first started working in computing as a mainframe programmer, which was always good fun, I saw the arrival of the desktop PC, XT machines, and IBM PS2s, which I always conjure with the fact that Sony PlayStation used that later on. It was very funny. But anyway, so I look at those big milestone times of the PC arrived. We started then using mainframe data, exploiting it on a PC and putting it back to the mainframe and doing all that good stuff there, saving costs, doing things faster, bigger, better, faster. I saw the arrival in the mid-90s of the internet. I helped set up one of the first internet service providers in the UK. I saw the first websites being built. One of the companies I used to be the MD for was building websites in the good old days. We built some of the first e-commerce websites that were ever put together. We built secure encryption systems for use of credit cards online. Built a brilliant encryption system for transacting payments, which was very similar to one called PayPal, we may have heard of. I wonder what happened to that. So that was all good fun, some big learnings there. I remember the arrival of the internet into the corporate in the mid to late 90s through browser access and the use of a search engine, which allowed people to access information faster, bigger, better, faster. So all these bigger, better, faster things happening. The arrival of a smartphone, early on products like wireless systems using compact iPads and things like that in our pockets, which were before the iPhone. And then obviously the smartphone itself, so pocket access to the internet in a user-friendly way, again, another seismic shift forward. And then I look at the onslaughts of 2G, 3G, 5G, 4G, 5G, speed onto mobile technology, phenomenal. So it's now high speed. All of those big changes, pivotal moments in our tech journeys, that's really where it's at. So if I can get across to people that they see those big events and the AI and its arrival into our consciousness as business professionals and at home, if we really think of that as being a pivotal moment, it's a really exciting time for us to be, looking at the opportunity AI brings to all of us, from a business sense and from a personal sense as well. So I really want people to walk away with a moment for them to pause, think, and then go, actually, these are the areas we need to look at to exploit data using AI machine learning techniques to allow us to really bring the mission, the business outcomes to an even better level than it is today. And that's also for society. For how do we increase people's quality of life using techniques and technology? It's all good. It really is, and I want people to get that passion. This is the place to be. This place to do it.